How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Liberty Bowl. So today we're going to be talking about Katie Hobbs' proposed budget that she just released onto the public. It's definitely a left-wing fucking liberal wish list, but we're going to go ahead and go through it a little bit, talk about what's on it, and yeah, get into that. How you doing today, man?
Doing great, man, and not really enjoying this cloud cover and cold.
Right.
But other than that, everything's good, man. 3-day weekend,
Right. Enjoying it, man. It's supposed to rain all weekend, unfortunately, but
Right.
either way, still. All right. So, as you know, you've been reading through it, some of it this morning. Katie Hobbs released her proposed budget for the next year, and needless to say, it's pretty much a left wing wish list, but at the same time, as we've been talking, our current congressman here in District 6 here in Arizona, he is a bit of a rhino, and he was also just appointed to the Appropriations Committee in the House. So he's basically, he's a freshman as well. He's one of the, I think like the first freshman that's ever been appointed to the Appropriations Committee, straight out the gate. And so basically he's the person in charge of the purse strings coming from Washington, and he seems a little bit chummy with old Scaby Hobbs, and so I mean, granted this is a bit of a left wing wish list, but at the same time, I mean, who knows? We know that she's gonna at least get some of it done, and at the same time, it really is just a big virtue signal as to what she is trying to accomplish.
Yeah, with obviously trying to turn the state into California, especially with the school system thing, and basically trying to tax you to death to provide state employees with electric vehicles and charging stations.
Right. Right. Fucking. I don't know. What do you think about? Did you read the part about she's gonna start funding in like a Amtrak style railway system from Tucson to Phoenix?
Yeah. And we know how those go. At first it's a novelty. People want to check it out and whatnot.
Right.
And then, we rely on our vehicles as Americans, bro. It's going to be a huge waste of money. It's basically going to be, with vouchers and transporting homeless people and immigrants, I would assume.
All right. So it's the Liberty Bowl, man. So we're going to go ahead and smoke up a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and get into this budget proposal here.
Well, let me run it down to you, communist, homosexual, faggot, dipshit, motherfucker. Fuck you, that's why. 'Cause fuck you, that's why. 'Cause helmets suck, that's why. And commies like you swallow, that's why. Fuck Pete Wilson, that's why. Fuck Dick Floyd, that's why.
And Katie Hobbs had to be fucking high to think that this shit was going to fly.
Yeah, I mean, high or absolutely mentally ill, like the most of her ilk, man.
Right. Right.
Look at her haircut.
Right. I mean, in other Katie Hobbs news, with whole Carrie Lake's news as well. What was it that Katie Hobbs admin has until the 17th of this month to come up with valid evidence that this election was not botched?
Yeah, and the Supreme Court turned Carrie Lake down, said she had to go through the appeals court first, and they are actually expediting the process, and hence the reason the 17th, they want to get it in there and prove it either way. So
Right.
It seems like we're going to get some answers here soon.
Right. Do you think
Possibly.
Do you think anything would come of it? Do you think like there's any possibility of overturning anything like that, or do you think it's just going to pretty much be like a "see, we told you so" type thing?
I would imagine it's going to be a "see, told you so." I mean, I personally can't think of any time that an election was overturned after the person was installed
Right.
in America. So I think it'll be a lot of we were right again, but will they have another election or a runoff or whatever? I don't see it happening.
Right. I don't either. But all right, so let's go ahead and check this stuff out. So the first part that it starts out with. I'll include a link in the description below so you guys could check it out if you guys want to read along. But so it starts out with education, and the very first thing on the list is repealing empowerment scholarship accounts, which is basically school choice. It's the school choice program that we had here in Arizona. I believe it started like a year or so ago. I don't believe it's been going on for very long, but yeah, Katie Hobbs' first thing that she wants to do with the education field is repeal school choice. All right, so we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about school choice.
I see this. I see this as them trying to control you, trying to control your tax dollars, and trying to enrich teachers' unions and whatnot, and taking away the illusion of choice. And you're going to cookie cutter programming or nothing.
Right. So I was also reading a little bit deeper into it and stuff. So I guess there has been a voucher type system, but it's only for special needs students. So she's going to make sure that she keeps that in place. But all of these places that do receive funding through vouchers, all these private schools, charter schools, and stuff like that, that do receive funding through these vouchers, they are also, I guess, going to be subject to state scrutiny. I guess basically they're still going to have to follow a state style curriculum, even though they are a private school, and they're going to be open to state inspections, things like that, all that stuff. So basically, they're just taking these private schools and trying to make them into a public school, regardless of their private wishes.
Again, it's a situation, where you see California, they just poured money into their school systems, and they rank pretty low as far as that's concerned. And America overall, since the institution of the Department of Education, you've watched the standards just absolutely plummet. And the shit you're talking about with the state, curriculum is, we see it's garbage. I mean, they're absolutely and admittedly dumbing it down to accommodate lesser IQs and intelligence levels. So in turn, they're just cranking out rereads, man.
Right, pretty much, man. And so as you guys are very well aware of, anything privately, any private business as opposed to a government funded business is always going to excel, by leaps and bounds. And the main reason for that is competition. Right? Because they need to be competitive. They need to be the best in order to get the money. When it comes to public education, public schools, things like that, they get funding and raises and, debt increase. I mean, funding increases and all that stuff, regardless of performance. Right. And I was actually, like I said, I was reading a little bit deeper into Katie Hobbs' education thing. I guess for a little while, we were having a performance-based budgeting system. So basically, if the school was like a performing school, their budget was better basically. So it's basically a small scale, kind of making public schools competitive, but ultimately, I mean, it didn't really do much. And of course, Katie Hobbs is saying that it's making things inequalities and inequities and whatever the fuck you want to call it, So it's in her paperwork, she uses the word inequity quite often, fixing inequities, which, as you know, inequity is not the same thing as inequality, right? Inequity is basically like, okay, so you're the fucking equity. We need more peoples in the fucking public schools and shit, right? So basically, when this whole voucher system went into play, of course, obviously, the fucking public school attendance dropped, right? Obviously, teachers wanted to leave the public schools so they could go work for a private school because, of course, the pay is going to be better. All right. And that's basically what Katie Hobbs is trying to end. She wants to see it. So with this, she is proposing, what is it? I think it's like a several million. Yeah. 198.6 million to retain education staff and increase base level support for schools by 3.04%. All right. So basically she's, all these public schools that are performing, below level, all the teachers are getting a raise. Right.
And you see examples of that, New Jersey, Philadelphia and whatnot. They have some of the highest paid teachers in the country and some of the lowest education standards. I mean, it's redundancy, man.
All right. And obviously the other main thing is anything state funded, they're never going to teach you the things necessary to realize that, well, basically you're a fucking slave to the state, you know? That's basically what they want. They want to churn out basically there's a reason that the state prison systems and the state school systems are very similar. They eat the same fucking food. They fucking they're even the buildings are structured similarly, right? It's there's a reason for that. It's because they're hoping for the same fucking results. I mean, even the curriculums and some of the prison programs and stuff is designed like to be understood by elementary school students. It's because they want the same results. They want good little boys and girls that are going to do exactly what the government tells them to without question, right?
Right.
And that's basically what it's all about. So let's talk about Arizona's education rating level, right? I believe right now we're ranked 47th in the nation. That's not it's not a very good thing, right? So 47th in the nation, and our reading levels are abysmal. You know, half the people out here are fucking illiterate apparently, and so the answer to that is they need more money, right? So the argument for private schools, and honestly, I believe making all schooling in a privatized, I guess, kind of for-profit type setting is, again, competition, right? The best schools are going to get the best, you're going to have to pay more to get them because they have the best teachers. They have the best everything, right? I mean, and personally, if you're not a parent that, is involved enough to worry about where you're sending their kids, that's something that needs to change, right? Parents need to be worrying about their kids' education much more than just, well, this school's closer to me, so that's where my kid's going, right? I mean, parent-teacher association attendance, things like that is horrible, as compared to back in the days. And at the same time, the FBI is trying to fucking investigate and lock up parents that speak out at such meetings, right? So obviously we're seeing that things that are state run are really just kind of hurting the kids, hurting the community and all that stuff. And not to mention the whole curriculum, which is basically the whole, Frankfurt School of Indoctrination. Fucking everything is based off of social and emotional learning. Everything is based off of social injustices and critical race theory and all that stuff. And, basically that is what is destroying America. That's what's basically making us a bunch of soy boy fucking, I don't even know what you want to call it. Fucking, it's not liberals, because liberals actually believe in liberty for all. Essentially, that's kind of where the root word comes from. But at the same time, it's definitely I don't know, something different. It's probably fucking communist or some shit. But yeah, the education system is completely fucked right now.
It turns out definitely a bunch of self-loathing. Cretins. I mean, people that are taught that they should depend on the government. They're taught that replacing, the father with the state is a good thing and virtuous, and absolute division. That's what the school at this point sows. Not to mention the LGBTQ dinosaur sign apostrophe colon. You know what I'm saying? A whole movement. It's Marxism, cultural Marxism at its finest. Like you said, definitely Frankfurt School. And regardless of how much money they throw at it, it doesn't get better. It seems to get worse. And a little anecdotal, I personally spent a short time at a rural school. Overwhelmed, it was a K through 12. So, a shit ton of students. And this is a story of basically it's in the teacher. If you're out there, Joel Lisker, you're a bad dude. He just encouraged you to learn, read, and expand your mind regardless of curriculum. They didn't care if you were reading Stephen King, as long as you were absorbing words, vocabulary, phrasing, logic.
All right. Shit. Speaking of reading and Frankfurt schools, I actually just came across this book at Goodwill the other day.
Yeah.
So this dude, M.I. Finley, I did a little bit of research into him. It turns out he was a professor at I forget the school, but it's one of the the major Ivy League schools here. He was actually exiled or fucking deported from America during the Red Scare, because turns out this guy is from the Frankfurt School. He's a fucking classically fucking trained fucking Frankfurt fucking Frankfurt scholar and shit. And so I'm reading into a little bit about his views on democracy, ancient and modern. And like I said, I just got it yesterday, so I've only read like the first couple pages, but it's essentially the first thing that it starts out with is the whole leaders and followers, and basically the concept of elitism, and basically how all the vast majority of people in democracies are just want to live and just look up to somebody that knows politics, to basically elitists. They want the mass plebes and shit want to look up to an elitist and say that person has my best interests at heart, and now I could just go about my life not giving a shit, and essentially that's true. And
it's replacing God with the state, man.
Right. And so I definitely want to kind of read into it a little bit more, just to see, I mean, I've always known that that's the way that the Democrat and the whole communist fucking elitist really kind of view the people as just a bunch of fucking cattle that are just feed me, fucking give me something to do, but yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how they actually view the idea of democracy and shit,
Yeah, and democracy, obviously we're Americans. Democracy doesn't mean much here as far as that's concerned. It's, we were never meant to be. And I don't know about you, but, the ad nauseum democracy
right.
has actually done more damage than anything I've heard the right say in the last 10 years.
Right. And that's definitely why the lefties want to keep repeating that fucking that word ad nauseum. Is as the old saying goes, you repeat the lie enough, it becomes the truth.
Right.
So all right, let's get back to this whole proposed plan here. Right. So one more thing about school choice and public schools versus private schools. Right. So the valedictorian of a poorly performing public school is always going to end up failing at an Ivy League like MIT or some shit like that. The reason for that is because even though they were the smartest kid in their school, they were the smartest kid at a school for fucking idiots, right? And so yeah. I mean it's funny, but it's true, It's right. It's basically if these people that these bright students that have all the potential in the world, if they are stuck in a fucking shitty performing public school because that's just the neighborhood that they grew up in, they're fucked. But if they have this, school choice program where their parents could see that they're a bright pupil or something like that, or even a teacher could see that they're a bright pupil and kind of recommend like, maybe you should take advantage of this, a voucher program and, send them to a bit, of a better school, something that could actually give them a challenge. So that way they could actually, grow and succeed and excel, But yeah, nope, definitely not. Nope. If you're a bright student, well, you better hope that you could at least get into a middle of the road fucking school or something like that, And,
yeah, I think it was Mark Twain that said, I don't remember verbatim, but it's something to the effect that if your only education is public education, you have education.
Right. Exactly. And so that's basically another one of the arguments. And of course, these bright pupils and stuff like that, they are 1 in a million, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 100,000, I don't know, whatever odds you want to give it and stuff like that. They're not your common student and stuff. The vast majority of students are is people that basically their parents are just trying to send them to daycare so they could get out of their house for a while. But it's basically it gives a chance to those people that wouldn't have had a chance to go to these better schools and learn this better curriculum otherwise.
Agreed, man.
All right, so speaking of people that wouldn't have had a better chance otherwise, $40 million to establish a new tuition scholarship program for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival Eligible Students, otherwise known as the DACA Dreamers. All right, so being American, being born here, you and I can't get a fucking scholarship just because of the fact that we're fucking poor, right?
Right.
They can.
Yeah. And again, this is it's California, man. It's I think it was 2020. The state of California spent $100 million just educating non-English speaking students.
Jesus. You see a lot of, and it's not just like from Mexico. You see a lot of people from all over the world. They'll immigrate here just because of the fact that they get a free university education. And that's why there's so many fucking doctors and all this shit that are foreigners. They're from foreign countries because they basically they immigrated here because they know that first generation immigrant, you get a fucking scholarship. Just for arriving in America and shit. And it's really I mean, they want to say it's making it more equal and stuff like that, but it's really, as you can see, it's a way for immigrants to end up taking advantage of the American system. And as we see right here on the southern border here in America, it's a pretty big incentive to try and make it here at all costs, right?
Do you think that the theory that it's also a brain drain in other countries is accurate as well, or do you think the people that would be able to make it, are already there doing something for themselves, and it's their social cast-offs and whatnot, or they're absolute poverty stricken?
I believe it can be a bit of a brain drain for the most part, but of course a lot of those people in those foreign countries, it is really not as much of an egalitarian style as it is here. So essentially, a lot of those people did need to be born into wealth, or did need to be born into the upper echelons, in order to even succeed. So I believe a lot of it, can be a brain drain in that sort of sense, where basically, not a brain drain. The other, where basically they're just kind of sending us their outcasts and stuff like that, and basically we're training them up to
the tab.
Right. And at the same time too, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that like maybe their parents had all this money and stuff like that, or maybe their parents were fucking up there, fucking high level politicians, something like that, and a regime change happened. Right. They got to get the fuck out of Dodge, and so essentially they come here to give their kids the best chance of education, survival, success, and so I believe it's a whole number of things, but yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a drain on the American system. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So
what's the next one, man? You want to cover?
Let's see. Well, then we get into health and welfare. There's some other ones in here. For like dual enrollment, which is basically high school students getting college credits while they're still in high school, which that's pretty cool, stuff like that. But let's get on to health and welfare. So, as you already know, 463.5 million and 115.8 million is going to automatically go to Access DES, basically our socialized healthcare system, socialized food stamp system, all that type stuff. That's a complete other fucking topic for a whole nother time. We'll be talking fucking for hours about that shit, but pretty much this entire list of shit, if you're more libertarian leaning, if you're more against taxes, it's gonna make you want to fucking vomit. But these are just some of the more bigger ones that I kind of highlighted. Let's see. So 150 million deposited into the Housing Trust Fund to assist families and individuals who are currently at risk of becoming homeless. So it's again, another type of voucher system that Katie Hobbs was saying that she wanted to put into place, for basically, giving homeless people's, vouchers, fucking rent vouchers and things like that. So, as there's clearly a housing crisis here going on in Arizona, right? And essentially, rents have skyrocketed. Housing prices have skyrocketed, and giving people vouchers, to where basically, they don't have to pay rent and shit like that, is going to make rent rocket up even more for those of us that are actually, working and paying rent and, actually contributing to society rather than just being a drain on the taxes, right? So that's a big punch in the gut to anybody that actually pays fucking rent and has to work their ass off to do so.
Not to mention the price increases and the difficulty in making everyday costs at this point are strictly due to the actions of the state, man. Whether that's federal or local, through the last 3 years, they've just borrowed, spent, printed money, the dollar into oblivion, man. And then the housing cost here obviously is due to the means of the state in California where it's emptying and they're coming here. You know what I mean? So then they're overpaying for these homes, and then our state in turn is hiring the taxable value based on those overblown prices. I mean, everything that people are dealing with on an everyday basis right now literally boils down to the actions of the state, and it's the old adage of we're going to break your leg, and now we're going to give you a crutch by taxing you more and spending more money.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's a never-ending cycle, man, and it's just going to increase the price more by handing out cash.
Right. Right. So let's see what else we got. And at the same time, helping people, that refuse to help themselves is not doing very much help for them. It's essentially life is a struggle, as everybody fucking knows. Life. Yeah. There's very, very few people in the world that just get to exist just because that they're here. And really the more that we kind of essentially feed the fucking homeless, feed the fucking feed the raccoons and shit, whatever the fuck you want to call it, feed the wildlife, whatever the fuck you want to call them. It's they're becoming dependent, which of course we know is what the government wants. The government wants full dependency on them. They want the entire fucking the entire nation to be renters, and it's another thing that's just leading to the all-out decay of American society. Not to mention the fact that people that rent as opposed to own don't tend to take too good a care of their living spaces. They don't really seem to I mean, as you used to work for HUD. Renters aren't exactly the best housekeepers.
Certain people excluded. Something I'd like to touch on as far as that's concerned. It goes with cost, throwing money, and taking it from people that produce to people that don't, or ship their money elsewhere. In that budget, $15 million to rural Latinos and indigenous peoples to secure well drillers for water sources. Which I mean, obviously, okay, we all need water, right? But this isn't charity. This is coercion, and it's basically if you're anything other than Latino and indigenous, apparently you're expected to work, provide for yourself, and secure your own water source. Yep. And if you're not, then you're supposed to pay for others to do the exact same thing that you're expected to work for. Right. And I mean, absolute, just this is almost border level criminal as far as I'm concerned. Like, they're literally telling you, we're going to steal from you and give it to these people that, one, probably shouldn't even be here. Two, indigenous people, we give them gaming license. Right. I mean, they have casinos. That's like a license to print money. And you guys can't have somebody come drill. Right. You know what I mean?
Exactly, man. Exactly. That was the the first thing I thought when I read it. I was like, dude, like they pretty much own Arizona's Vegas. How do they not have fucking money?
And they don't want to be a part of our government. They want to be a government unto themselves, but they want us to come provide water. Right. You know what I mean? How does that make sense, man?
Right. All right. So we got $24 million to make feminine hygiene products tax exempt.
I mean, I don't understand where the spending comes in. I think it should just be like legislation. That's it. You can't charge taxes. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Right.
I mean, obviously, it's something that females absolutely need. But why are you taking my money for it?
Exactly. And why do we need to pay taxes to make something tax exempt? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the big thing I was kind of wondering. I got a couple other tax exempt things in here. So we also have $16 million to make permanent tax exemptions for infant diapers, which again, a necessity. But at the same time, why does it cost $16 million to make them tax exempt? Yeah. Like that's
literally legislation.
Right. Fucking ridiculous shit. All right. Let's see. So $6.1 million in ongoing funding to augment existing Title X dollars to provide expanded family planning services to low-income women, doubling the current amount provided to women in Arizona. All right, so for those of you that don't know, family planning is contraceptives and taxpayer funded schmortions. All right, so that's in there, and I believe is Arizona, we have a 15-week ban right now, something like that. Currently, yeah. So she's definitely trying to wipe that. Up to 9 months plus. That's definitely a Katie Hobbs plan.
So they get their license,
right? Right, exactly. That's Katie Hobbs' plan. So she's also of course going to make sure that it is taxpayer funded at the same time. All right. So now we get into some government spendings. All right, so $250 million deposited into a one-time rainy day fund. That's the biggest thing. Basically a rainy day fund for the government. And then $114 million in one-time funding for building renewal. For things like the Arizona Department of Corrections, State Fair, Game and Fish, Pioneers Home, and the State Lottery Commission. All right, so in that interview that I posted. On the last video that had Katie Hobbs in it, she was basically saying that that's one of the things that she wants to focus on is prison reform. But so after reading through all of this, all of the prison reform she wants to do is basically making the prisons better places to live. There's
revamping the AC system.
Yep,
they got to make them more comfortable, man. It's
right.
They're going to make it a Swedish model.
Right. I think there's one part in here somewhere down the line about it's like several million for fire training and emergency service training, shit like that as well. That other than that, I believe that's the only like actual corrections or fucking actual processing programming, shit like that. That's the only type of money that's actually going to that. Other than that, it's all just rebuilding them, making them better and more comfortable for the inmates.
I also seen another part of that where it's some millions for litter removal on Maricopa freeways, and as well as I do, that's a fucking joke because they use slave labor.
Yep,
they use the prisoners, man.
Yep, they definitely they use Arizona Department of Corrections inmates are getting paid literally less than $1 per hour. Don't quote me because I don't know the exact figures that they make, but I know that it's around $1 to under $1 an hour.
So what are those millions for? Are we going to give raises to inmates and privatize prison systems? I don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? What?
Yeah, no fucking clue, man. But as Arizona Department of Corrections, basically, who is it? The director or something like that came out like a couple months back and basically made the statement that Arizona's economy could not function without cheap inmate labor. Basically, Arizona's economy basically runs off of slave labor.
Do you find it odd at all that Arizona sided with the South in the Civil War, and we still use slavery to this day?
Right. We just rebranded it, right? It's their educate their work programs now. We're teaching people a better way.
Yeah.
Right. And at the same time, Arizona's prison system is a revolving door system, right? We have some of the highest recidivism rates in the country, and at the same time, our programs, things like that, it's, as I mentioned earlier, designed to be understood by children. So there's really not much learning getting done. Having been one of the inmates who's sat through those classes, the majority of people just sit through them like, when do I get to go back to my fucking dorm? This is fucking stupid. Right. There's really zero critical thinking. There's really, they have cognitive reprogramming and stuff like that. But, again, it's someone cuts in front of you in line. Do you, A, punch them, B, tap them on the shoulder and ask them politely to go to the back of the line, or C, I don't know, I forget what C was, something like that. But it's basically dumb shit, and it's highly ineffective, I
was just listening to an educator speak last week, and they were saying that multiple choice tests throughout the American education system has done more damage in education than the vast majority of all funding issues, teacher shortages, strikes, what have you combined.
Right. Especially because I remember back when I was going to school and taking standardized tests, my teachers telling me, if you don't know the answer, it's B.
Ours was, basically, guess.
Yep.
It's, if you don't know it, take a guess. You could be right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're like if you don't know the answer, just mark B or something. Like just mark something.
Right.
There's a 1 in 4 chance. There's a 1 in 4 chance that you're going to get it correct.
Ridiculous, man.
Right. All right. So let's continues on here. Right. All right. Yep. The next one. 66.8 million one-time funding for the general fund to continue upgrading HVAC systems in DOC facilities. Let's see. 48.
Can't have your prisoners being a little too warm.
Right. Actually, I mean, those pods, I ain't gonna lie, they do get hot during the summer. I was fortunately one of the lucky people who had a top bunk that was right next to the air vent. So I slept comfortably every night. Matter of fact, I had to bundle up in my blankets and shit because I was so cold sometimes. But
for the most part, though, we have privatized prison systems, though, right? Here in Arizona.
Yeah, we do have quite a few. It's I believe we have more state than we do privatized. But privatized the private prisons. All right, so let me go ahead and make the argument here for private prisons. Right, of course. Everyone, if you see any sort of discourse on the internet about private prisons, it's about how they're immoral and basically it's these people these people that own these prisons are basically just making huge amounts of cash off of inmates and stuff like that. Yeah, the state is doing the same fucking thing, but it's not a problem when they do it, right? And at the same time, as you know, and we have said and will repeat ad nauseum, anything state run is always going to be garbage in comparison to anything privatized, right? So having been an inmate in both a state prison and in a privately run prison, I was in a Kingman, which is run by a GeoCorp. It's night and day, all right? In state prisons, you are in there with fucking roaches, you are using underwear that another man has worn before. Your clothes are constantly fucking being recycled out because recently they just started putting washing machines and stuff in some of the state run yards and stuff like that. But for the most part, you would take your oranges and you would put them in a big bag and then send them out, and then you come back and get you some new ones and shit. So not allowed to have pillows. All your bedding and stuff like that, old fucking, a lot of the times the mattresses don't even have stuffing in them anymore because they've already been cut open and had stuff stashed in there or something like that, or because some of the inmates will also remove some of the stuffing from there and use like an old shirt or something like that and actually sew up a pillow so that way they have pillows. And it's actually something that pretty good money maker. If you ever end up going to prison and you know how to sew, you're gonna be all right. Right. But yeah, so on the flip side, when you get to a private prison, as soon as you arrive, they give you some fresh fucking clothes. They give you fresh, brand new sheets. They give you a fucking pillow. They give you a fucking fresh, brand new fucking pillowcase. Everything that you get is brand fucking new there. All right, their food. It's larger portions. It's usually better. Yeah, generally everything about private prisons is always fucking better. At the same time, the guards there, it really depends on what kind of guards you're around. But the entire time when I was at the private prison, all the guards were pretty chill. For the most part, they're just kind of walking around. The only people that actually ever worry about anything is that you ever have to worry about is like the sergeants or obviously the fucking warden, anything like that walking through. Definitely be on your best behavior. But other than that, yeah, it's privatized prisons are so much better than a state-run prison. And of course, the resources too, especially like the medical resources at a privatized prison, dude, night and day compared to state-run prison. State-run prison, if you have some type of terminal illness where you're dying, you're probably gonna die. That's it. If you have something where you need a certain treatment or something like that, say if you get a blood infection, which is very common in prison, yeah, you're probably going to die, because they're not, you're going to have to fill out paperwork in order to get yourself a hospital visit. And then it's going to be several weeks to months before they actually get you into that hospital visit. And hopefully you haven't died by then, or hopefully it didn't get you there too late. And basically it's already gotten to your heart and now you're fucked, yeah, basically it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So if any sort of a prison reform, which I believe she does have something about that, actually, I'm not too sure. I'll read through it, because if it is, I'm highlighted, but I highlighted it, but yeah, I think she might have done something for the medical field in the prison system. But either way, privatized prison over state prison any day. All right, that's my whole spiel on that.
Sounds rough, man. Especially, they're just gonna let you die. That's rough shit.
Right. I literally saw it happen. I literally fucking one a buddy of mine. This dude, of course, I don't know his real name, because most people don't go by real names in there. So this dude named Oso, yeah, he ended up getting a very bad blood infection to the point where he could not move. Like, he was physically stuck to the bed. Me and a couple of the other people had to pick him up and put him on a wheelchair and wheel him down to the chow hall just to eat. Yeah, is absolutely horrible. And by the time they finally took him to the hospital, he never came back. They just told us he passed away on the way to the hospital.
Yeah,
it's
rough, man.
It's fucking, yeah, it really is a third world in there. But at the same time, any sort of dental work you need, $4 a visit.
Fuck, man.
I shit you not, dude. $4 a fucking visit for dental work, which is pretty damn cool, man. If you ever need dental work, go to prison. That's where you get it done. All right, so let's
Meanwhile.
go. Right. Meanwhile, while the rest of us suffers.
Right.
All right, so let's see. $48.7 million in one-time funding for the general fund for the DOC to complete critical fire and life safety projects at the Douglas, Globe, Perryville, Tucson, Winslow, and Yuma prison complexes, as well as the Correctional Officer Training Academy. All right, so all of those prison complexes, those are all state-run prisons. Keep in mind, just about every city in the state of Arizona has a prison. But again, these are just the ones that are state run. Most of the rest of them are all privatized. All right. So, but again, that is the only sort of, procedural stuff that they have for the prison system. Everything else is simply just cosmetic and, quality, wise in there. So, 25 million one-time deposited into the state match advantage for rural transportation fund to help ensure Arizona remains competitive, drawing down Federal Reserve transportation grants. All right, so what that is, I looked into it a little bit. That is basically Arizona fighting to get us some of that old infrastructure bill money. It's basically to keep us competitive. So I guess these transportation grants, they're granted on a through on a competitive base. I'm not too sure what the competitive criteria is and stuff like that, but that's basically what that is. It's basically saying that we're trying to get us some of that old infrastructure bill money.
I mean, you surely don't want to see it pass, period, right? Federal level. But like Ron Paul used to say, if the government's going to throw money at states, it's my job to bring it home to my constituents. Right. You know what I mean? So, I guess absolutely take it when you can get it from the federal government, because it's going to be doled out regardless, man. Right.
And then at the same time, we'll see if it actually goes to our roads, because, we drive all over fucking Arizona every single goddamn day. And our roads could definitely use some TLC. Granted, our roads always do seem to be under construction, but they never seem to get any better for some reason.
Yeah, and when they do fix it, it seems like doesn't last more than a year and a half, 2 years, man, and it's right back under construction.
Yep. And as we just saw here in Tucson, we just had a city vote to raise city sales taxes. I believe it was 0.5% or half of a penny, on every fucking sales tax, something like that, in order to fix our roads, right? Of course, it passed it overwhelmingly passed, and about 3 months later, they came out and said, yeah, we're going to have to put that on hold because, due to inflation, the cost of materials are getting too high. The tax still stays in place though. We're still,
Right.
still getting taxed at, just the project's been put on hold though. Fucking wait.
And they're lucky at this point. It's just pushing buttons because it costs 5 cents to make a penny. So
Right. Right. So let's see. On to the next one. Oh yeah, they also have the enhancing broadband in state facilities in rural areas. That's another 16 million. 15 million in one-time funding to install electric charging and advanced fuel infrastructure to support the conversion of the fleet. So that's what you were talking about earlier, where basically they're gonna they're buying themselves all fucking electric cars.
yeah, and then it goes on, for a little further down. Obviously, like I said, where it's millions to install charging stations and whatnot, and they're even talking about in parks. Yep. So basically, you're gonna have people just soaking up the energy.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
That's right here. 7.5 million in one-time funding to install the needed public infrastructure for electric vehicles at state facilities, including state parks, motor vehicle division offices, Department of Child Safety, and Department of Economic Security customer-facing offices, and other highly used locations. Right, so they're gonna, like you said, they're gonna give themselves all electric vehicles, and then they're gonna install charging stations all over the place.
Wouldn't it be wiser to take the vast majority of a lot of these funds that are going to like these projects and putting it all together and actually upgrading the entire electrical grid? You know what I mean?
Right.
Then go into the next project.
Right. Our electrical grid that's already basically fucking incapable of handling all of these new electric vehicles, which basically if everyone got rid of their gas vehicles and went to electric vehicles, our electric grid system couldn't handle it, period, end of story. Like that's it.
Especially here in the summer with the AC use and whatnot, and then like you mentioned earlier, the population explosion that's going on
right. So it continues on here. So 15 million in one-time funding for a grant program to help rural, Latino, and indigenous communities secure certified well drillers to access safe drinking water. That's the one you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, you provide or pay for your own water, and you're also going to pay for other people's water.
Right. All right. So now we get into the last area, which is public safety. See, so the biggest one is 69.2 million, of which 56.7 million is one time to support operations at the Department of Corrections. So that's basically, raising up fucking, everyone. I believe there's another part in here where it's several million to bring about more training to basically hire more people at the Department of Corrections. I don't know if you saw it, but just the other day, actually, in Maricopa County, the county fucking jail over there in Maricopa, one of the guards got busted for bringing in a whole bunch of fucking meth and fentanyl, and so now they're going to be putting body scanners for the employees. Right, for all the corrections officers, for all that, that's going to be something that they're going to start working on, is basically body scanners for all the employees. And as someone that's been to prison, yeah, that's kind of how it goes down. A lot of the time when you get the good shit, it's coming from somebody bringing it from the outside. It's coming from one of the guards, one of the kitchen staff, one of the maintenance staff, something like that. Basically, they get chummy with an inmate, or maybe perhaps they know this inmate, from the outside, something like that. And, essentially there's a whole lot of coercion that goes on. And, essentially the inmate has connections to the outside. So they could basically get them anything that they need. They could even get them the supply of fucking drugs that they need to fucking bring inside. That's going to get them paid. Right. And they also have the vast amounts of money to pay these people or their families or anything like that. Right. So it's very, enticing offer when you have fucking drug lords literally saying, hey, dude, just put a fucking cell phone in your pocket and walk it in, put it in your boot, and just walk it in, that's a very, very incentivizing thing for these guards that aren't getting paid very much. So they are also going to be upping the pay of these prison guards, I believe. But yeah, so that's that is something that goes on, and so they are going to be trying to make sure they do these body scanners and stuff like that. I believe that they are also going to be body scanning the public and people that are coming for visitation, because that is the other main way that inmates get items inside, is through visitation. And just so you guys know, the way that they get them past all that, it's in your butthole.
Or vaginas.
Right. So
yeah, I've also seen where recently three female guards were let go because they were not only smuggling shit in, but it was like a sex ring, dude. They were in there just doling out the pudding, dude.
Yep. That's yeah, fucking that's one thing that everybody always talks about, like on the prison yards and shit. It's like, dude, there's one of the guards, she was fucking one of the people over in the pods over there. Like that's always fucking something that people always talk about, which it does happen. It's just rare, and you're a lucky son of a bitch if you're the dude that fucking for real. Everyone on the yard is like, that motherfucker, dude. Right. So essentially, like she said, there's going to be a whole lot of shit going on with prison reform and stuff like that. Another one of the big things that she's going to be focusing on is the biggest thing in natural resources is $333 million in one-time general fund deposit into the long-term water augmentation fund, the second of 3 equal installments totaling $1 billion, spanning fiscal years 2023 to 2025. So that's basically the water crisis we have here in Arizona. And I'm not too sure what her actual plan is, but one thing that is for sure is Arizona does have a water crisis. That's basically the if you're able to run with a solid, cohesive plan on how to get water here to Arizona, you're probably going to become the governor. Katie Hobbs, unfortunately, does not really have much of a plan, as far as I've been able to tell, but she does have $333 million that she's planning on throwing at it. So we'll definitely see. I believe Carrie Lake's plan involved tunneling from Yuma through or underneath the part of Mexico and getting into the what is it, the Sea of Cortez right there? Yeah, and then just bringing all that water in here, and then setting up desalination plants and stuff like that.
I've actually read previously that the Sea of Cortez was dropping water level wise, like pretty drastically.
Oh, we'll be if we have anything to say about it.
Right, and then obviously California up until now they're flooding out and shit. But here in recent times, like year span, I think it was like 3 years, they were basically in a drought.
Yeah. Well, we need some of that global warming, man. We need some fucking raise the ocean waters a little bit.
And again, Arizona did it to themselves. I mean, originally the Colorado River was part of Arizona, and as a punishment for siding with the South, it was annexed and given to Colorado.
Yep. And then, of course, with it being all dammed up and basically being used to power Las Vegas, that's definitely cutting us off just a little bit more there.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. The $2 million to conduct a systems assessment of the Department of Corrections to examine contacts, staffing levels, retention issues, and identify opportunities for improvement and reform. So that's basically, $2 million of that is basically going toward coming up with ideas for prison reform, and as well as staffing retention, essentially giving everybody a raise, and so basically $2 million of this is all that she actually devotes to coming up with, again, identifying opportunities for improvement. That does not mean that she has discovered any. That means basically we're going to be spending $2 million talking about what we could do about it. Talking about prison reform. Right. And so that's basically going to be her thing. All right. And now we get to the last and probably the fucking biggest one of them all. $494,500 in one-time funding to extend the Concealed Weapons Tracking System project. I don't even know what the fuck that is. I didn't even know that we had something like that here in Arizona. And if you look it up on Google or DuckDuckGo or any of your any search engine you would like, you're not going to find any information about it either. Because trust me, I looked it up all night.
They want to make you pay for it, but they don't want to let you know about it.
Right. So as you're very well aware, there's a huge attack on our Second Amendment rights here in America. Was it several states just recently fucking did more assault weapons bans, right? Of course, they're being struck down by the state courts, the fucking the Supreme Courts, all that shit. It's all being kind of struck down as unconstitutional and shit. But at the same time, it's like just like this whole fucking big old list of demands here is, it's probably not going to happen, but it is a virtue signal, and that's what they're going to keep pushing for. You can guarantee that they're going to push more assault weapons bans and more assault weapons bans and more assault weapons bans and more assault weapons bans, even though they don't ever define what an assault weapon actually is.
Yeah, they just came out. The ATF just came out and labeled stocks. If you put the stock extension on a pistol, right, it now becomes a small semi-automatic.
Yep. You got to register it as a rifle now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which should, is unconstitutional. You absolutely hope that the Supreme Court comes in and just says Bruin and smacks them across the face. Right. Who knows at this point, though, because, the pressure's really been on the Supreme Court, and you've seen some strange sightings recently. So, you don't even know at this point.
Right. All right. So, I don't know. Do you think it's going to eventually happen? Do you think they're going to eventually try and come for all of our guns?
I mean, I think that they'll steadily push for it. I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetimes necessarily, to where it's a complete weapons ban, like in Australia style or whatnot. But they're definitely encroaching, and they're going to reinstitute, certain bans for sure that have expired.
Right.
They're fighting hard. And the only thing that's stopping it right now is the slim majority in Congress, man.
Yep. Yeah, let me actually look through some of this and see if I can find what the assault weapons, or what the tracking system is going to be. Let's see. I got her whole actual detailed list of it brought up and stuff. That's how I was able to look further into the school choice stuff like that. Let me see if I could find anything about the
how one would track a concealed weapon. I mean,
right.
It's concealed. You know what I mean? And I know that supposedly they have counters around that can tell them how much cash you have in your pocket. I mean, so what's going to prevent them from basically doing the same with weapons, I guess? But
right. Let's see.
Some real Big Brother shit.
See, they got a whole bunch of fucking. I'll definitely link this entire thing up. It's 53 pages, but yeah, it's got a whole bunch of fucking super left wing shit. I'm trying to see if I could find the part where it says anything about the weapons tracking system. But let's see, I don't know. I'll probably end up finding it later than doing something about it, or doing a report about it. But either way, dude, some absolutely fucking totalitarian, fucking dictatorial fucking shit. And I don't know. Fucking, I personally don't fucking even recognize Katie Hobbs as a fucking governor, dude. Like she's been installed, in my opinion. I mean, clearly she did not debate. She did not fucking campaign at all. She did the old fucking Biden's fucking basement dweller and basically just let their opponent punch themselves to death. And I don't know. That's seemingly.
She ran from all media beyond CNN and MSNBC.
Right, literally, literally at times ran from them, yeah, and hid in the bathroom. I still am just completely dumbfounded as to how this woman became a governor. Not so much, not really dumbfounded, because of things that I'm not allowed to say on YouTube, but there's obvious reasons as to why she became the governor without having to campaign one bit.
For the first time in the state's history. Yeah, exactly. And refusing to recuse herself. You know what I mean? She ran the election she was running in. And she's I would not be surprised if she's over in Davos right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? With Dracula and Whitmer and whatnot. And it's pretty obvious that the way that the state has handled the whole election situation thus far, that this is they want her in regardless. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Definitely part of the machine, and something that we've talked about on many episodes, and I will continue to repeat. It absolutely sickens me that people are pouring into our state, and for purposes of they're trying to escape the tyranny of the left wing in their home states, and now they've come here and installed the first leftist governor in the history of our state, and now they're going to watch it be destroyed and turn into exactly what they ran from. You know what I mean? It's great job being redundant Riri's, man.
Right. I know. I do. I'm starting to get to the point where I think a lot of this fucking moving from California to Arizona was actually planned. You know, I think this was intentional. I think they've been trying to California, Arizona for years, and it's just now it's all coming to fruition. Fortunately, we still have a large number of legislators here in Arizona that are more conservative or more Republican leaning. So ultimately, she's going to have a fight. On the federal stage, on the national stage, and stuff like that. We do appear to be more blue. We have two Democrat senators. We have a Democrat governor. So I mean, technically we appear to be a blue state, but on the internal workings, we're still pretty red. So that's she's basically gonna have a whole fight the entire time she's in office. So at least there's that hope.
Even on this budget, you got state reps saying this is dead on arrival.
Yep.
They're not gonna vote for this regardless.
Yep. But that's why we were saying it's all just left wing well wishing, but at the same time it's her virtue signal, basically saying that what she wants to get accomplished here in Arizona. And it's, as you know, making Arizona California.
Good times.
All right. You got anything you want to throw in before we cut it off, man?
No, just everybody subscribe to the new joint channel, man. Liberty Reborn.
Yep.
We're going to be putting some shit on TikTok for at least I'm just starting. I know Blurry here's got a little time on me there.
Oh yeah, I've already got a few strikes.
I got my first one within the first hour of being on, and
I got my first one on the first video song. Yep, same here, man. Same here.
Yeah, commies don't like to hear the word commies.
Right. But alrighty, man. Well, it's been a good one. I appreciate all you guys stopping by. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. All links to all the other channels, all of our alt tech links are all going to be in the description below. Definitely make sure you guys are subscribing, supporting us on alt tech. Follow us on Twitters, on Truth Social, on basically anywhere. Fucking Instagrams. Follow us. We're all over the damn place. All right. So that being said, we appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Fuck off.
See you later.